All right, welcome back to the show, everybody. Second time's a charm. We are going to sit down with none other than Cody Carbone from the Chamber of Digital Commerce. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. We're here, and Cody is joining us from the Chamber. No, it is the Chamber of Digital Commerce. Yeah, I have it right.
That's right.
I kind of get it, but I love what you guys do, and I tell you something, you guys have been on fire. Shout out to you, Perry Ann, and everybody there at the Chamber for what you've done in your efforts in filing amicus brief with the Ripple case in support of Ripple, and now in the Coinbase case in support of Coinbase. Cody, talk to that if you could.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's awesome to be here with you on a Friday afternoon. I wish I was where you are. It looks bright and sunny. Looks like you might have a beach house I see up there. I'm jealous, but yeah, the amicus briefs that we filed, we've made it a priority at the Chamber to be a voice for the industry. That's our motto. And we've witnessed the SEC with their pattern of enforcement actions in favor of rulemaking continue to attack good actors in this space. And we just can't stand by and say nothing. And so we filed these amicus briefs to show that it's more than just single companies that the SEC are attacking. It's an entire industry. And we want to be the voice from the industry in fighting back a little bit.
Well, you guys are certainly doing that in a big way, and it is hugely appreciated here on this channel and from my audience. I can tell you that, and thank you to all of you. Let's talk about now, what are you seeing? Let's go back to, we know that you filed in Coinbase, and you guys are everywhere you need to be here. But let's talk about what is kind of taking shape that we see. And I know it's early. What are your thoughts about the implications of the SEC versus Ripple and the XRP in and of itself is not a security? Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the SEC has been acting without this authority from Congress and trying to regulate the entire industry by saying everything under the sun is a security. We don't think that's the case, and we don't think that's settled law. We have law on the books that, yes, if something is an investment contract, then it can be a security. However, it is also clear that the underlying asset in the investment contract is not a security. And that's what was that case in the Ripple case. And so we don't believe XRP is a security. We make that very clear in our amicus brief. And for the SEC to try to make up its own rules as it goes through these enforcement actions is what we're calling out. And so it really takes Congress to act to fill that void. It's not up to this, independent agency no one was voted into office. It's up to Congress to act. And so we were really pleased to see Judge Torres come out with the decision, which we think validated the Chamber's perspectives, but all of, Ripple's and XRP, the Army, their perspective that, hey, we're not dealing with securities here. And so to see the judge in the Southern District of New York, Judge Torres, come out and say, XRP is not a security. I don't think that, even though we're going through this appeal process right now, which is quite annoying, I don't think that is being questioned anymore, which is a great win for the industry and for XRP.
It really is. And, speaking of that, you and I talked offline before starting this just for a few moments, and we were discussing, I hear people say in the same breath that Bitcoin and XRP having the only clarity going forward. And look, I tell people, I said this in an interview I did yesterday with James Murphy. I said it to you today. I'm going to say it to the audience again. I do not bring this up as a maxi. I bring this up as a concerned investor in this space. He didn't know of any case that has legal clarity for Bitcoin outside of a regulatory opinion. Are you aware of anything that has a legal ruling to speak to Bitcoin?
We're really relying on that agency precedent, and which is coming through those agency statements. The CFTC has come out for, I think it was 2015 was the first time they said Bitcoin is a commodity. The SEC chair has had statements where they've said Bitcoin is a commodity, but it's not in law. It is not in law. And, no matter how comfortable we can feel relying on that precedent, because it seems to be an accepted opinion that Bitcoin is a commodity, until it is in law, we shouldn't feel that comfortable, which I know I'm not trying to scare anyone out there, because again, I think it seems to be accepted belief, but we need that to be ingrained in law. We need a statute that says Bitcoin and some of these other assets are commodities, and that's when we can feel comfortable about the regulatory framework going forward.
I think you just hit it on the head, because to me it's exactly that. This is about getting legal clarity for the entire market, right? And having a regulator's opinion. And look, I mean, no one knows better than an XRP holder watching years and years go by thinking that we were clear a way to go do whatever we needed to do, and yet we're still sued, right? You know, regardless of a MoneyGram partnership with the use of XRP that was approved by the SEC. You know, that's why I ask these things about Bitcoin.
And that's what pisses me off. You know, and that's why I think we get so vocal when it comes to these enforcement actions. It doesn't, you know, the SEC might think that they're going after, you know, this big bad company in Ripple, or they're going after this big bad company in Coinbase. You know who gets hurt? It's the consumers. It's the holders who, you know, they've invested in this company. They want to use the tokens for their uses. And they believe that they're doing so by following the law. And then all of a sudden the SEC comes in without any clarity. There's no rulemaking, which they are, you know, statutorily obligated to do, propose rules to provide clarity, not only for the companies, but for investors, for consumers. And they haven't done so. And they believe that they're providing that clarity through these enforcement actions, and it is only hurting the consumers. It's hurting you and I who may hold XRP, and that's not fair.
Oh, no, you're absolutely right. And we do appreciate the work that you and all of the associations are doing. It is meaningful work, and it is absolutely necessary. Look, you are checking the pulse on Capitol Hill every day, Cody. So what is the temperature on Capitol Hill, and is it stronger for a stablecoin legislation than crypto? Are we 2025? What does it look like to you today?
It's interesting. There's an interesting dynamic going on. So I would have told you this market structure crypto bill, the FIT Act that moved through committee at the end of July. I would have told you in the beginning of July or earlier this year that 0% chance any Democrats get on board. It seems to be a very partisan bill. What changed things to get Democratic support was the Ripple decision. It was the first time where there were members of the Democratic Party, the same party as Gary Gensler, that took a pause and said, well, wait a second. We've kind of been letting him run. He says everything's security, and we've been letting that play out. But now we have a judge in a judgment go on the record for the first time saying, hold on, Gary Gensler, not everything you're doing makes sense. And I don't believe everything you're saying. And that was the first time Democrats in Congress said, okay, let's just not turn a blind eye and let him go, you know, unchecked. Maybe we need to support getting some regulatory clarity here and getting that legal framework that everyone has been asking for. And so the tide has shifted. And we're starting to see more and more members of both parties ask questions. You know, what's going on here? I wasn't paying attention to this before, but now I am. What is needed? How do I provide clarity? Because I'm hearing now from voters in my district or my state who may have had some XRP and they're pissed off. And I might have not been listening to them before, but now that Judge Torres said something and I'm seeing these headlines that the judge ruled against the SEC, I'm listening. And what can I do to help the industry? So that tide is changing. I think there's momentum to get something done. Now, there's a lot that goes into that. I still don't think it's happening soon. And so it may be a next Congress thing, but the momentum is building and we're going all in the right direction.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear. Now, are you hearing any stronger push for stablecoin legislation? Do you believe that that is something that is achievable by the end of 2023 going forward?
I believe it's achievable. I still think it's a long shot, and it's less because of the substance of the bill. I don't think it's because members don't want to do anything on stable coins. Yeah. I think it's more just politics. We're facing possibly a government shutdown. They've got a farm bill to pass in ag. They've got a National Defense Authorization Act, and so it's possible because there's desire. I mean, the White House is the first one who called for a stablecoin framework back in November 2021. And now Congress has this bill and they say, hey, we're ready to move forward. I think they can come out with bipartisan support and move this thing on the House floor fairly quickly. And if you get an overwhelmingly bipartisan bill that moves through the House, the Senate can't just ignore that. They might have to move. So I think something could happen. I just know that there's a lot of other factors in place that might slow it down. But again, I think it's similar to the market structure bill. We're on the right path.
That's wonderful. Now, in light of it not happening this year, what would be the next window in 2024 to look out for legislation to come through if it doesn't happen by the end of this year?
Yeah, unfortunately, 2024 is where it gets tricky. We got the first presidential debate next week. Politics takes over DC when it's an election year. Not much legislating happens. And so I think if we're going to move these bills, it probably has to happen this year or very early next year before everyone starts leaving town running for reelection. It could happen. I don't want like the listeners to this to go like, Cody, man, he's so doom and gloom. He's saying there's no chance. It definitely could happen. I'm trying to be a realist and think about there's a lot of factors at play. It's election season, but because we have moved these bills, stable coins and the others, we've moved them and we've advanced them so far, and the text is strong and there's support from both sides of the aisle. I think this could be, if it doesn't happen now, we're at a win, not if. It's going to happen. It is going to happen, and it could happen early next Congress, which unfortunately is January, 2025. But it's going to happen, and we're just waiting. And so, ourselves at the chamber and some of the other organizations, we're continuing to advocating to move it forward. We want it now. We won't stop asking for it now. I just know that there are some other factors at play.
Well, to that point, other factors at play, we know we've seen in congressional testimony over these issues, senators like Elizabeth Warren push for FSOC. Right, speaking to the Under Treasury Secretary Nellie Liang, I believe her name is, and asking and demanding at times that the Financial Stability Oversight Council actually step in and create regulation in lieu of getting any legislation done in Congress. Do you think that is a area we should continue to watch, and what would it take for FSOC to act if they haven't already done it? Is it going to take a systemic event? What are your thoughts there?
I think it would take a systemic event. I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're reluctant to act, and I think the notion from Senator Warren and others who are saying we don't need legislation, we could do this through regulation is. I've got a lot of things I'll say offline to you about it, but it's total BS. It's total BS. There's people, unfortunately, in Washington, Senator Warren being one of them, who still believe that this industry shouldn't exist. They still believe that it's a fad, it's a trend, and that anyone who is experimenting with digital assets or blockchain technology should go overseas and do it there. That is not the prevailing view anymore. It was. But I think now there's an acceptance that this technology is here to stay. And the only way to make sure that it flourishes in the US and not the UK or the EU is by creating that legal framework. So continue paying attention to FSOC, because unfortunately, the senator from Massachusetts has a lot of allies in the White House, and they have been she's kind of been the mouthpiece for them. But there's reluctance to go that route because deeming something a systemic risk under FSOC takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of supervision and oversight, which I don't think they have the technical expertise to do right now for digital assets. But it's disingenuous to say a legal framework isn't needed. And I think a lot more people are accepting that, and we're glad for it.
Well, I appreciate everything that you're doing. Again, shout out to you, Perry Ann, and everybody over there to Digital Chamber. Final thought this thing for us, Cody.
We're in a good place. It's been a bear market. It's been a tough year and a tough few years, I know, for the XRP holders out there. But Judge Torres, gave us a win. And I think now we can start stacking those wins. Things have, I guess, again, the tide has changed in Congress. Things are looking up. We are moving closer and closer to that legal clarity that we all deserve. And so it's time to start feeling optimistic. Now, don't take a victory lap. The work is not done, and we'll continue to be on the ground, advocating for this industry. but you can start to feel a little good. It's Friday. You can start to have that happy hour drink soon and smile a little bit because things are looking up.
Cody, thank you so much for taking the time, my friend. We will talk soon. Don't go anywhere. All right,
Thanks
guys.
so much.
Thank you. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. We'll catch you next time.